Right, let's begin here. Councils that invested in the now liquidated VBS Mutual Bank are facing financial challenges. The West Rand District Municipality in Gauteng is one of those councils that are affected. Workers there protesting following the council's failure to pay salaries. The South African Municipal Workers Union says things will escalate if the Gauteng provincial government fails to address the issue. We're now joined by the West Rand District Municipality Mayor, and that's Mr. Boise Maneli. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your time. I want to start with pressing matters. Which areas of service delivery are affected in the municipality that you run right now?
Thanks, Chloe, for the time you are giving me. As workers are not doing work now, indeed the services like your emergency are affected because your fire engines are also embargoed as a result of this, as well as our ability to also respond to disasters that may also occur in the process. So if you talk pressing matters, those would be in the main those which are in the main about delivery. And therefore in 2015, when the municipality invested, it continued to get interest from the monies that they've invested with VBS over a period of time. Over 7 million of interest would have been received in totality.
How much money?
Over 7 million in interest received by the municipality from investments since that period. These investments were done in line with the banking and investment policy approved by the council, which delegated the authority to invest short-term investments to the CFO of the municipality, who would then report to the council in terms of those short-term investments.
But, I'm sorry to interrupt. The Municipal Finance Management Act very clearly said the municipality could not invest in a mutual bank. Was that overruled, and who did that?
I like your question because it helps to have a better understanding once again of the matters. It is not because this matter has never been raised before. It is the same thing in this current term of office to ask the same question. That the general view, and I want to say general view, is that you cannot invest with a mutual bank in terms of the MFMA. We were presented with the same presentation that would have been presented in the previous term of office. That the MFMA make a distinction between opening a bank account in line with Section 7 of the MFMA from Section 13 of the MFMA that talks to investments. And the argument, therefore, is that as the MFMA would say, that a municipality may invest with a bank or an insurance company or any other financial institution. So this is what the municipality relied on for all the years starting from February 2015. And they had a legal opinion internally which said that that interpretation of separating opening of a bank account and an investment remains valid. This is up until a period when then the curator issue came in, that then there was a question that said there would have been a circular written to the municipalities that they are not supposed to invest with VBS in 2017. Of course, we never received such a circular.
How did it escape? How did it escape West Rand?
And this is why I want to explain to you so that it helps South Africans to understand the question you've asked. The circular that has been referred to many times, there's no such a circular. All what you have, which we learned later, is an email from an official of Treasury to some of the municipalities that were affected by investments on VBS. This we have also tried to check in a meeting convened by the minister with the current realities now. And I personally attended that meeting. I asked for the circular. Treasury was present, COGTA was present. Indeed, it was confirmed in the meeting that there was never a circular.
So National Treasury backtracked in that meeting?
There was never a circular, but an email that was sent to municipalities. And at the time, we didn't have the email. We wanted a confirmation of to who was this email sent, because it would mean that it was withheld from us.
Yes.
At that time of the meeting, there could not be a confirmation that we have received. We later got the letter that has been written by Treasury, addressed to those that are responsible for investments, not to the mayor, not to the MM, but to the CFO and a manager in a CFO's office. However, that letter makes a disclaimer that this is not a legal advice or anything that you can use as an advice on this matter. But once again, that letter refers to Section 7. It didn't touch anything as to what could be the interpretation on Section 13 of the MFMA.
So in other words, you say...
So there is no circular. Let's start from there.
So there's no circular, but
But
there's
an email that is said to have been sent to the municipalities.
In your view,
yes,
was National Treasury clear or vague in as far as that email was concerned about investing with VBS?
Yeah. Look, and you'll understand why we took certain steps then in answering that question. From where we are, when we now received this, and it was clear that there is a problem, and there is a problem about these investments, amongst the steps we took was to write to Provincial Treasury and say, please, in the first instance, give clarity on the legislative framework, whether there's been any breach of the MFMA in terms of these investments. Indeed, a response we got was that there will be also a forensic investigation on the matter, but we didn't get the legal opinion on the matter, but that we will have this part of investigating from a forensic point of view. We went back to the council. Then the council said, but there is a problem of interpretation once again. Let's therefore get a legal opinion and not rely on the internal legal opinion that has been used from 2015 up to now, because now this is now under question that we have gone outside of the law. We did get a legal opinion from senior counsel Hussein, Advocate Hussein. And the approach we took was not to receive a document, but have an open council meeting where the opinion must be presented by the one who gave the opinion to allow everyone else to ask questions. Mm-hmm. And it is in that council meeting of the 23rd of August, 2018, where the opinion from Advocate Hussein clearly states that yes, the CFO has these rights in terms of what is expected of them to do in terms of investments, short-term and so on, and made again a distinction between Section 7, which is relied upon, as opposed to Section 13. And from where they are, in terms of an opinion, there would have not been an issue if you talk legally speaking. Of course, the legal opinion can't go to a point of saying whether there could have been any matters of criminality and so on. And the council accepted that legal opinion without a split of a vote, unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, let's not get stuck in the legalities, because right now we face a calamity. And the calamity is that you are unable to pay salaries. 77 million rand has gone down the drain, and there's no possibility of getting that money back. The point now is, who took that decision, and are those people who took that decision still in the employ of the municipality today as we speak?
Okay. Thanks, Polly. I also have an obligation to clarify, South Africans, that there is no link between the non-payment of the salaries of employees with the VBS investment.
How so?
Because the investment made in VBS was not meant for the operations of the municipality, but projects that are not related to salaries and operations. It's very important to make that clarity, because South Africans may be getting this in a wrong way because of how it's reported. Let me go back. An institution like a RDM will not collapse overnight, I'm sure. It starts from somewhere. And that's why it's important that South Africans must also get this cleared. That as early as 2010, when the municipality received functions that were not funded, these problems emerged. And they took resolutions to approach Treasury and say, increase the allocations because we'll have problems getting into the future.
What were those functions that were not followed?
That will be your fire services, that will be your disaster, then you also had MHS. So you had warm bodies moved to the district, but not followed by the finances that must ensure that that service is rendered properly. As a result, the municipality had to use its own reserves over a period of time. And those reserves were depleting as early as 2013. And in 2014, they depleted almost completely.
Mr. Manila, are you saying to me that an important service delivery, such as the fire department, that municipality did not have such services before, and as a result of those services being brought on board, it then meant that the finances of the municipality were becoming depleted?
That's exactly my point. My point is that those services were rendered by local municipalities. Because remember, here you are talking about a two-tier system, unlike a metro. You have a district and a local. So it was rendered in local municipalities. You also had the personnel at that level. You would see that even with Citibank, if you were to talk to Citibank, it's still that arrangement. The fire services will be with locals. They were then taken to the level of the district. But as I say, moving the warm bodies to the district. But that function was not followed by the funds that must then be reallocated to the district.
Mr. Mayor,
and the district had to use its own resources. Yes.
I want to interrupt you here because my colleague, Michael Apple, who also has been covering the story extensively, is in our newsroom, and he would like to jump in on the element of whether or not West Rand District Municipality is in the mess that it is in today as a result of that 77 million rand, which we are saying there's no link between the 77 million and the municipality going bankrupt.
And the salaries, yes.
All right. Mike, what's your opinion?
Mr. Mayor, good morning. With respect, I'd just like to ask a question in relation to your comments. So I've sat in Northwest Scopa's inquiries into several of the Northwest municipalities that invested, and they were of the opinion, Treasury was there, and they said that any municipality that invested, we know it is illegal in terms of the prescripts of the MFMA to do that. But let's say hypothetically that it was legal to invest in a mutual bank. A municipality is only allowed to do that if they have surplus funds that is not immediately required or earmarked for investments or service delivery needs within a community. Are you saying then that there are no service delivery or infrastructure needs within your municipality that would have required that funding in any case that justifies depositing that sort of money in VBS?
Do you want to respond to that?
Yes. As I indicated earlier on, I made that separation that indeed it was meant for the projects. I think your issue was about the bankruptcy and salaries, which is a different matter from that investment. Indeed, those projects are affected, the mere fact that the money is with VBS. Of course, we asked this question on why do you invest the money if you need to implement projects. At the time, we were given this explanation that when the money is not due for payment now and you'll still have to pay at a later stage, you can still invest this money in order to generate interest out of it, especially with the conditions of the finances in the district. And as I say, it's very important to go back again that it did not start now. It started in 2015 February. All these reports from 2015 February up to now were also submitted to the oversight bodies, like Treasury, like your AGs, also audited these investments. We've also sent those reports, as I say, to even the council. There's paper trail to show that even from 2015, there's been reports on those. And as I'm saying, and this will also be captured in what I said was an opinion that the council needed, because what it did, the mere fact that there was no red flag coming from any of the oversight bodies created that impression that indeed there's nothing wrong with it and they will audit and give an unqualified report. In 2 consecutive years, The part on the VBS in particular was part of the sampling that was done. And there was no issue raised in terms of that non-compliance or anything else. So if you ask me, yes, those projects are affected, but I still maintain it's not linked to the bankruptcy of a municipality, inability to pay salaries, inability to pay other creditors on time that relates to the services like fire and so on. That is something that started over a period of time, which needed interventions that were needed at the time, which is what we did even in this term of office. As early as January 2018, we have applied Section 135 of the MFMA, which says that we must give notice to the MEC, to SALGA, to Treasury, MEC, I mean COCTA, Treasury, that this municipality, from where things are standing, will not be able to meet its obligations going forward. Please intervene. And we knew that that intervention would mean they will come in, do an assessment. When they do that assessment, they would look at what could be a way of sustaining that municipality going forward. So I still maintain that, indeed, that one was for projects, and this is the explanation given, but it is not linked to the salaries.
All right. Mike, I don't know if you feel that you adequately answered there, but I understand you have a follow-up question for the Mayor.
Yes, that's right. Mr. Mayor, interesting comment that you say that the financial position that the municipality finds itself in now is not linked to the VBS deposit. Is that then not an admission that even if this deposit had not gone ahead, that the level of financial mismanagement within your municipality was of such a degree that this VBS deposit just added insult to injury? Are you saying that even if there was not this deposit, that you would find yourself in this exact position now where you still cannot pay salaries?
A very important question which helps to clarify once again what I've clarified. That clearly the situation you have, even if that money was in the bank of the municipality now, it will be paying for the projects it is allocated to because it's grant money meant for projects. This municipality, the double RDM, with all these problems I'm talking about for all these years, will still not be in that position. Why? Because that municipality does not have any other source of revenue except the grants. And that's probably the perception that gets given in the country, is that like all other districts that have got powers in terms of Section 84 of the Structures Act, that they have bulk services that they give on electricity, on sewer, they are a water services authority. Not here. These powers were taken long ago from the district and sent to locals. So this district is dependent on grants from the national and provincial government with no other source of income that you would say, if you do a turnaround strategy, let me look at these other issues in order to change the fortunes. So the point I'm making is that even if that was the case, you'd have problems. And this is also because, and records will prove that, over a period of time, whilst grants have been increasing in terms of growth by 3%, the bargaining council decisions around salaries are not at that level. So you are forever having a difference in terms of what is your income and what you pay out. And that includes even upper limits for councillors over a period of time. As you increase with a particular percentage, it doesn't mean you've grown your tax base as a district. So it would still be there. But I must say that I would not want to say at this point, when I have not seen an assessment done by Treasury, that it is mismanagement of funds. The reality of the matter is that from records that we have from the previous term of office coming all this way has indicated that the municipality has always been out of budget because your personnel costs are far exceeding the replacement grant that you have that gets to the municipality.
All right. Mayor, I want to quickly move on to the issue of the municipality being placed under administration, but I want to quickly wrap up with Michael Apple. Michael, I understand there's something that you want to read to us very quickly for the Mayor.
Yeah, this is something that we've had knowledge of for a while now, that Treasury made it very clear when the VBS report came out, in the months preceding that, in the years preceding that, actually, the Treasury said that that it has been very clear The mayor says there was no circular sent out, but in emails on his version then, says the MFA does not allow any municipalities to bank with a mutual bank, but allows to do so with a fully registered commercial bank. So since 2016, this is according to Treasury, there have been a number of parliamentary questions that have gone back and forth where Treasury has said in Parliament that there are a number, it was 13 municipalities that had invested, and West Rand would be one of them at that stage. And they issued an instruction in Parliament to say that they have told these municipalities to stop investing. And that was over the course of 2016-2017. I'm interested to find out from the Mayor, when was that legal opinion gathered to go and invest the funds in VBS? And Treasury is saying that you cannot go and get a separate legal opinion. Treasury is the custodian of that legislation governing the investment. So it in itself going to get a separate legal opinion on legislation of which Treasury is trying to enforce, that in itself does not make sense. When did he go and get that legal opinion? Thank you.
And why? Importantly, why would you seek to circumvent the law, Mayor? Because this is the law. Why go and get a legal opinion in order to circumvent the law? Because that's what it is. Michael, thank you very much.
Thanks, Claudia. I think you are expressing your view on the matter. And I want to respond then to the question. I have just clarified with you that right from the February 2015, the municipality invested with VBS. And in all those periods, the oversight bodies, including Treasury that Mike has referred to, received these reports. At no point that there have been red flags given by those who must enforce that law, that you are actually transgressing the law. And therefore, people continued to get interest as returns on the investment of VBS money, which is the over 7 million I talked about to you. So Treasury was there. But it's just that if you were to ask him to read again, he says in his reading, Treasury said you can't bank with VBS. The banking, as I said, in terms of Section 7 is clearer, and we have been banking with a commercial bank. This is an investment which, as I said, the reference point has always been Section 13 of the MFMA, which says you can invest with the bank or insurance or any other financial institution that meets these requirements, annual reports that get given and so on. So therefore, there's no issue of circumventing the law, is that this has been happening. Now, if it has been happening and there's not been a problem raised, then when the curatorship problem came, that's when everybody talked about problems that exist, which have never been spoken about from 2015 up to now. Now you have an internal legal opinion that said these investments were within the law in terms of interpretation of the MFMA. So you have a difference of interpretation, and for that reason, therefore, you would need an external legal opinion on the matter, because we've never had anything from Treasury for all those years. We've looked at that handover report.
Mr.
There's
Mayor,
nothing that has been raised by Treasury.
Because of time,
yes.
I'm really out of time, but I really need to get answers from you.
Yes.
Who took the decision to invest monies with VBS, and are those people still in the employ of the West Rand District Municipality?
Yes, the investment, the banking and investment policy, as I said, is approved by Council, mandates the CFO to be the one who handles short-term investments. So
is
that's
the CFO still with them?
That's what I'm answering.
Yes.
That's very clear that that's the situation. Then you report to Council and all other oversight bodies. That's the first point. Second point is that because these investments have happened over time, that's why we needed a legal opinion. We started with Treasury first, as I said. Now, the reason we needed it is that there should be the basis to charge people, as you know, that you have transgressed the law, and we are now making this sanction. As I say, even the legal opinion clarified that as far as they stand, there is no issue. And this is presented to the council. We send it back to Treasury. We send it back to COGTA. Now, the CFO, yes, he's still in the municipality because of the forensic that's taking place, where they also need to cooperate with it and ensure that we get a report, which we are likely to get sooner now, and take
CFO
action.
Who took the decision is still in the municipality's employ?
The CFO, yes, is in the municipal
Still getting paid?
Employ, yes. Because
Not suspended?
Not suspended. As I have explained, the reasoning being that Treasury is running with that investigation on our behalf because we can't do it. And
was
that
he among
investigation...
the workers that were affected when monies could not be paid to workers? Or was he among those officials who could not be paid last month?
You mean October?
Yes.
Yeah, for October purposes, it's important to clarify that for that category of employees that didn't get paid, because only a particular number could be paid, others were not paid, which included councillors were not paid.
Including yourself, from what
that's what I'm saying. Including councillors were not paid, executive managers were not paid, given the financial situation that the municipality is in. Indeed, there was no payment at that time, including to the councillors for that portion.
Mr. Mayor, the municipality, very quickly, is going into administration, or is going under administration. When is this likely to take effect? Have you been told?
I just again want to clarify what we could have heard from the MEC. We tried to review that footage a number of times. The MEC, Banyazali Sophie, in addressing the workers when they came here, indicated that they have just received the report on that day. And he indicated that that report paves the way for a takeover by province.
Paves the way.
Yes.
So there's no definitive
it paves
answer as to
the
when.
way to take over the municipality. Because you would know, at least Toli, that once you say you are placing the municipality under administration, there are due processes in the country, which is why there was an assessment that needed to be done, so that you know what intervention do you need in this municipality. You will also inform all other stakeholders, including the Minister for COGTA, as well as the municipality concerned. Officially, on that day when the MEC was addressing, and I think he used proper words in my view, that there was no placement of administration on that day, but he refers to a report that they've received which paves the way for them to be able to take over. We'll now be informed officially of that process.
When will that be?
Right. That's from the side now of the provincial government. We have not been given the official report as yet. As the MEC said, they would have received it only on the day that there was this much. And if you were to ask me the question, what's our take on that? We had already written, as I said, as early as January and said, Section 135, we have problems here, please intervene. And we knew that that intervention, if things don't work out, it can also go to administration. And if it goes to administration, there will be a pronouncement, because administration is also not general. It will indicate what type of putting this municipality under administration would follow. And I think South Africans should also know that part. That's what the MEC said.
All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. Boise Maneli, he is the mayor of the West Rand District Municipality. And as you've heard for yourself, the CFO, who initially took the decision to invest 77 million rand of that municipality's money with the failed VBS Bank, is still very much in the employ of that municipality and still getting a paycheck to this day. Let's move on.